I want to tell you some honest truths that I learned about my time living there and if I would or wouldn't do it again. I often hear things like, oh, it's so much safer in Europe than it is in the US. I feel safer walking around. And in a lot of cases, that is true. I do feel a lot safer walking around in different parts of the world than I do maybe feel it back in the States. However, I did have something really traumatic happen to me within a month of arriving to Spain. It was robbed by knife point, like a knife like this big was placed on my throat, and it was 3 p.m. on a Sunday. It was clear as day. It was a family park. So I think oftentimes we think, oh, the world's gonna be safer because we're in Europe, and that's not the case. Like, bad things can happen anywhere, right? I think these things happen whether you're in affluent areas or in areas of poverty, but I think that's one of the things that we often overhype is we think everything is just so much more safer because we're in a Western country. I will say there is a better work-life balance from the perspective that I've seen, where most Europeans, I believe, get at least 4 weeks off for a summer vacation, and some Americans don't even get paid vacation time off. Maybe 10 days is the average time you take off. So I do really like that you go to work and then you might go to a terraza and have like a cocktail, a beer, or something with some friends and just kind of enjoy life. I do notice that there's a lot more like third places in other parts of the world than there is in the US. I feel like with the US, you go work, you work out, maybe have dinner, but most of like the fun times are reserved for the weekends. So I do think there is a better work-life balance. There's still problems. Just because we're on vacation, we just don't see that, right? But people live in these countries too. They're not vacationing all the time. So I think that's something that we often mislook, is that we think that living in Europe is a vacation 100% of the time, which is not true. And then learning a new language or not knowing the language can be a little isolating, especially if you want to make friends. I do know Spanish fluently, but what I didn't realize when I first went is they speak Catalan. And a lot of the things, at least in Barcelona or in Catalonia, a lot of things are in Catalan. So it could be hard to make friends and find like the community. I know when I first moved out there, I kind of had a little bit of a culture shock, and I had a hard time adjusting, to be honest. I'm like, I don't have my core group of friends. I don't have my normal routine where I go to work and I go to the gym or etc. Like, it felt a little isolating. So that's one of the things that you could experience, a little bit of homesickness and, not feeling like you truly belong yet. Those are just some of my thoughts. I'm curious if any of you guys who live abroad or have lived abroad have any similar experiences, or maybe you have a completely different experience and it's super positive. Let me know.